Not just every recipe requires salt, but every korban requires salt. The Torah tells us, Al kol korbancha takriv melach. Every korban needs some salt. There was a covenant, there was a bris, the Torah tells us, made with the salt, that it should be brought on the mizbeach with the korbanos. What exactly was this agreement? What was this bris? And Rashi quotes part of the measures that during the second day of the Bria, the second day of creation, when the water was separated, the lower waters complained that the Mayim Elyonim, that the upper waters were closer to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and it wasn't fair. And the waters threatened that they were going to cover over and destroy the entire world. So Hashem appeased the water. And Hashem said that since you wanted to be close to me for my honor, you will have two opportunities to come close to me. You'll be brought on the Mizbech with the Nisuch Hamayim, the water libations of the Chag of Sukkos, and the salt that will be brought in every single korban. That was the bris. But think about it, why the salt? The water itself should have gone on to the Mizbeach. What's significant about the fact that it was the salt from within the water that is being brought onto the Mizbeach? Explains the Maharal that the complaint of the water was that we want to be close to Hashem, and that all other creations seem to reach upwards. People stand tall, trees stand tall, plants grow up, animals stand tall, even fire goes up. And yet water is always going down. We seem to be moving at a distance away from HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Why so distant? And Hashem says, no, you've got it all wrong. You don't understand, because things that are pointed up are not necessarily any closer. The salt is taken from the bottom. It's what's left behind the water. It's the lowest point possible. After the water evaporates, the salt is left behind. And that's what's brought in the Mizbeach. Because life isn't about being lofty and separate and distant in order to become close. Sometimes you have to get down and dirty. Sometimes you have to get real low down on the ground in the physicality in order to find ways to connect to Hashem. And that was the lesson that Hashem was showing specifically through the Melech by requiring salt on the korbanos. Hashem wants us to be in this world, involved in the physical world, and maybe even to fall and to err, but to pick ourselves back up and find ways to reach up and get closer to Hashem. Bring ourselves up like the salt in the Mizbeach. We spend so much time more time involved in the physical than the spiritual. Even our Yom Tov preparations that have begun now in earnest, halacha and learning are required. But it's overwhelmed by the myriad of technical preparations that need to be done. And that's the lesson of the salt. It's important to keep it in mind. The physical may not seem spiritual, but we can infuse it with meaning, with closeness, with a way of getting closer to Hashem. That's a beautiful lesson before Pesach. At the Seder, we're also going to have salt. We're going to have salt water. We dip into the salt water to remember the tears of a nation that were so low down, the 49 gates of Tumah. They needed to rise up in order to prepare for Matan Torah. But we were able to do it quickly. We were able to quickly turn that. Because even when you're low down, it's where you're headed. It's not how tall you are. It's not how straight you stand. But it's where is your head? Where is your heart? What do you want to do? What do you want to accomplish? And when we eat the salt, and we can elevate ourselves up and show HaKadosh Baruch Hu we want to serve Him. We relive the embittered past and the feelings of being distant. Not for the past's sake, but to try and better ourselves for the future. That's Al Kol Korbancha Takriv Melach. Whatever is there at the bottom, whatever physicality there is in the world, find a way to connect to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, find a way to bring us closer. And then the complaint of the Mayim Elyonim won't be there anymore. Because wherever we are, from whatever stage in life, whatever experiences we have, Hashem wants us to reach up from there and to say, I want to come closer. And then He reaches down and brings us even closer to Him.